Welcome back, everybody. Matt the Bat here. So, interesting news. What was it? Last week, the end of last week, I want to say, maybe Thursday, Friday. Christian Bale, one of the best actors working in Hollywood, is doing press right now for the new Marvel movie Thor: Love and Thunder. Comes out next week. And somehow, now I don't know how the topic came up, but Christian Bale brought up that he would come back as Batman if Christopher Nolan had a great idea for another story. And that is very interesting. Number one, back when The Dark Knight Rises came out, which will be hitting its 10-year anniversary in July, in just a couple weeks. I cannot believe it's already going to be 10 years since The Dark Knight Rises. I remember when we were all complaining that we had to wait 4 years between The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. And to realize it's already been 10 years in just a couple weeks. But anyway, back 10 years ago, Christian Bale said two things. Number one, he will never make another comic book movie again. This is it. I've done 3 Batman movies, no more. Well, here we are 10 years later, and Christian Bale is in a new Marvel comic book movie playing the villain. So there goes that quote. I'll never do a comic book movie again. Wrong. And he also said he would never come back and play Batman again. He said, hey, we did this trilogy, it's done, we wrapped it up. I'm not going to come back and play Batman again. Well, interesting. That now he's saying, yeah, I would come back as Batman. I mean, yes, a lot of it has to do with if Christopher Nolan had another story in mind. But let's think about that for 1 second. Let's say Christopher Nolan went to Christian Bale and said, I have an idea for a Batman 4 or The Dark Knight 4, whatever you want to call it. What would be that story? Would John Blake, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, be in trouble and need Bruce Wayne to come back to Gotham and help him out in order to get Bruce Wayne back to Gotham? Maybe. I mean, would Selena Kyle and Hathaway be involved? And then you gotta think about what villains would they use. I mean, they use Ra's al Ghul, they use Scarecrow, they use Joker, they use Two-Face. I mean, Catwoman is a villain, not villain, anti-villain. They had Bane. They had Talia al Ghul. I guess they could bring in the Penguin. I think that was the one villain that was missing in The Dark Knight Rises. You have this mob in the first 2 movies, and you don't have the Penguin in the third one becoming the mob boss. I think that was a missed opportunity there. Some say the Riddler. Like I said, we just had the Riddler and the Penguin in the Batman for Robert Pattinson. So, I mean, you can do the Riddler. I mean, I don't know how much you're going to add or not add to what we've already seen. Mr. Freeze. Mr. Freeze would be good, but I know Nolan likes to keep his villains very, very grounded. So I don't know how he would do. I mean, we say that and we all want to see Mr. Freeze in the next Robert Pattinson movie. So, I mean, I don't know what they would do unless they sort of retconned something they said in The Dark Knight Rises that Batman hasn't been out for 8 years or whatever. So unless you made a movie between The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises, that whatever happened during those 8 years, I mean, you could do that. That would be interesting. Because like I said, I always thought they missed a great opportunity, especially now. If we hear it in a month from now at Comic-Con, and they bring out Christian Bale, and they, guess who's back? Back again. Bale is back as Batman. That would be great. But since it's been 10 years since The Dark Knight Rises, this would have been the perfect opportunity to do the Dark Knight Returns storyline, where Batman hasn't been Batman for like 10 years. And he has to come back and he has a female Robin, and the Joker gets out, and all that. And I was thinking the ideal of The Dark Knight Rises would have been better to me like only a couple years after The Dark Knight rather than 8 years. Because if you look at it, Batman Begins was, obviously the title gives it away, the beginning of Batman. He doesn't fully become Batman until the end of the movie. When the title comes up, Batman Begins. The Dark Knight is only 6 months after the Batman Begins. And that only takes place in probably in about a year or so. And then they jumped 8 years between The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. Which, really, we never seen Batman, Christian Bale's Batman, in his prime. So, I mean, I think Batman 3, The Dark Knight Rises, should have been the Batman movie in his prime. Even if it was set 2 years after The Dark Knight, that would have been great. Then he would have been Batman for almost 3 years now. So they missed a great opportunity because, like I said, if he did it that way, then you get 10 years later, maybe you would have had to recast the Joker at this point. You might have. And maybe now that it's been, 14 years later since Heath Ledger died, I think it would have been I think at this point it would have been okay to recast him. Maybe not back then when it was only a couple years later, but now being over 14 years later, you should have recast the Joker. Or like I think you would have had to bring in another villain. Or you would have saved Bane for now and had a different villain for number 3. I think also the missed opportunity of them is killing off Two-Face at the end of The Dark Knight. I think it would have been better to have Two-Face return in the third Nolan film and really play up that back and forth between the psychological aspect of Two-Face. Looking in the mirror and seeing a vision of himself looking normal, but obviously he still has all the scars and playing with that, and then having that relationship between Batman and Harvey Dent, and Bruce Wayne and Harvey Dent. That could have been an interesting dynamic for a third movie. So I don't know, but like I said, on the other hand, if they were able to bring back Christian Bale, Michael Caine, Gary Oldman, Morgan Freeman, maybe even bring back Anne Hathaway. I mean, Anne Hathaway has come out and said she would love to come back as Catwoman. She's always wanted to come back as Catwoman. So you bring back Anne Hathaway as Catwoman, bring back Joseph Gordon-Levitt as John Blake, and I don't know, either make up a new villain, which would be kind of sad because between Batman and Spider-Man, they have the best villains in all of comic book history. So if you were to have to actually make up a villain, that'd be pretty sad. But I don't know, I mean, there are other villains out there that they could, play around. Well, like I said, if you really had to, recast the Joker. And then you mean 10 years later, if the Joker has gone through some sort of change a little bit, that would give it a better reason of, okay, well, now we have a new actor playing this Joker. Maybe he changes his psychology around it that he's not all the way like Heath Ledger's was. That way you have room to change a little bit. I mean, yeah, he can still have the scars, around the mouth, you know, but you can do some kind of change to the character because it's been 10 years later. But I don't know. I mean, you got, and before people say, well, isn't that too many Batman or too many Jokers on screen? Well, you got Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, you got Barry Keoghan's Joker with Robert Pattinson. We still have Margot Robbie's Harley. It looks like we're going to have a Harley Quinn and the Joker 2 movie. So, right now we only have Robert Pattinson as Batman. So, if they were to bring back Christian Bale's Batman, I'd be okay with it. He's still my favorite Batman Bruce Wayne combo. So, I mean, yeah, I didn't like the voice in the third movie, but I never had a problem with Bale's Batman voice in the Batman Begins or The Dark Knight. Would I be okay with Christian Bale returning? Yes. 100%. Bring back Christopher Nolan. You can do something there. Hey, heck, bring back Cillian Murphy as Scarecrow. He showed up in all three of the other ones, so why not? So yeah, I don't know. I mean, is this just some hypothetical? Probably. Or is it? Maybe we'll find out. Like I said, maybe Warner Bros. Like, we need something big. With all this Ezra Miller shit going on and Amber Heard with Aquaman 2. Like, we need something to get people excited. Christian Bale. But yeah, what do you think? Because like I said, my bobblehead right here, that's Christian Bale. No, that's Christian Bale's Batman. No, hey, what do you think? Would you be excited to see Christian Bale return as Batman? And if so, what do you think they would do? I mean, no, The Dark Knight Rises wasn't perfect, but I thought they did at least wrap up the trilogy well. So, better than most trilogies wrap up. But, like I said, the movies made a lot of money. A lot of critical success. Oscars were won. So, what do you think? Would you like to see Christian Bale back? Or, I mean, who knows? Would you want Nolan back? Would you rather have a different director? To maybe go into a little bit darker areas. Maybe a little bit more of that fantastical aspect with some of the villains. Let me know in the comments below. Matt the Mad here. Once again, it's not who I am underneath, but what I do that defines me.